Hello everyone! So I'm going to give you an introduction to how to use Scratch if you've never used it before. It's free, it's a fantastic way of learning computer programming, and I recommend it to people of all ages. Let's dive right in. Um, let's get to Scratch. So if you type Scratch, as in I was scratched by a cat, into Google, it should be the first thing that comes up. The website is scratch.mit.edu. When you're there, it should look approximately like this. You can do things like create an account, and I recommend that, but don't worry about that just yet. I'm going to show you how making projects in Scratch works. So to get to the project creation screen, look in the top left corner. On that blue bar, you should see a word that says Create. Click on Create. Might just take a little while just to load. Fantastic. So I'm just going to show you around what all of this does. So first thing I'm going to show you is the Sprite Manager or Sprite window. That's in the bottom right corner. It's where the video of me is in this video. So it's sort of just over here there. So we've only got one sprite so far. It's the picture of the cartoon cat. It's called Sprite 1. Let's add a few more sprites, shall we? To do that, just look in that bottom right corner of that same window and you should see there's a picture of a cat face. If you click on that little icon of a cat face, which when you hover over it says choose a sprite, it'll take you to this screen. Now, you can look through all these different sprites and just click on one to add it. Let's do that now. I'm going to add in this broom. Yep, nice. Let's click on the cat face again. Now this time, you can click on all these different categories up in the top if you're looking for something in particular. If you want something music related or fashion related or food related. I'm going to pop in these bananas. Great, so we're adding in all these sprites. Look in the top right part of the screen. This is where your project, your actual project, your game, your animation, whatever it is that you're making, this is where it will all play out. So you can drag these sprites around. You can drag, in my case, the bananas, the broom, the cat around. And you'll notice that each time you click on one, either in this window which displays your project, or in the sprite management window, they highlight and become blue. So when they highlight and become blue, you can delete them if you want. There's a little X in the top right corner, so let's delete this cat, this cartoon cat Sprite 1, just like that. Brilliant. So the other thing that we can do is we can draw sprites. So hover over the cat face where we added sprites, but don't click on it. And you'll notice there's more options. Go up until you find an option that says paint. So I won't break down all the tools that you have here. If you've used a paint program before, you should be familiar with what most of these do. And you'll find other tutorials will go into this in a bit more detail, but suffice it to say you can draw all sorts of things in all sorts of different colors and add in sprites this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete I'm going to delete this one, Sprite 1, this horrible abomination of colored blocks I've made. So click on that little X. And there we go. So you'll notice that now we're actually looking at our sprites rather than having that big white space in the middle. This is because we're in the Costumes tab. If you want to know which tabs you have, look in the top left corner and you should see three of them: Code, Costumes, and Sounds. We're not going to worry about sounds for now, but there are tutorials on how to make sounds. For now, just click on Code. Click on that for me now. There we go. So now this is what we're used to. We've got this white space in the middle. We've got we've got two different sprites that we've made. And at this point, I'm going to explain a little bit how the coding works. So in Scratch, code goes into sprites. And code doesn't have to be typed out. They've actually got it set out into these blocks or lines, all these different colors in the left side of the screen. So currently, you should see all these different blue lines of code, these code blocks, if you want to call them that. So drag out move 10 steps, for example. Drag that from the left side and put it in the middle. So now you've got this code. It doesn't do anything yet because it doesn't have anything. There's not enough there for it to do something. But now if you click on broom in the bottom right or click on bananas, you'll notice that that move 10 steps line, it's in broom, but it's not in bananas. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that every time you press the space bar, the broom moves a little bit. So to do that, we're going to need to look at a different category, a different color of codes. We're going to go to events. So you should see all these different colored categories on the left side. Click on events for me, that yellowy one. So the second line you should see is when space key pressed. Drag that out. And then hover it just above our move 10 steps. And you'll notice there's that little shadow, and when we let go, it should click together like Lego. There we go. They're now kind of together. So this when space key pressed, move 10 steps. So the space key on your keyboard, if I press that now, and you'll hear it, and keep a close eye on my broom, there we go. Each time I press the space key, the broom moves a little bit more. So, and you'll notice the bananas don't, because the code is in the broom and it's not in the bananas. Another thing I'm going to show you is in the top right corner. There's a button that's, when you hover over it, it's a picture of 4 arrows, all of them pointing outwards. When you hover over it, it's called full screen control. Click on that, and that just makes your project nice and big, and you'll notice the code that we're running still makes it so that every time I press the space bar, the broom moves. So that's good. So we can actually add more and more lines of code to underneath when space key pressed. You'll notice as well that when we're on this screen, when it's not full screen, we can actually move these items around by clicking on dragging them. These sprites can be dragged around. And we can create all sorts of instructions for our sprites. And remember, that's all that coding is, basically. It's a series of instructions. So this is basically most of what you need to understand how the interface of Scratch works. All the other videos on this YouTube channel are all about making specific games, and I go into a lot more detail about how the code works and different types of code. Different principles of how computer coding works. For now, let's add another interesting bit of code to the broom. Go to looks, that category on the left, that dark purple category, looks, and look down until you find something that says change color effect by 25. It's sort of in the middle, sort of maybe near the bottom. Look for change color effect by 25. Drag that out and connect it up to underneath on the bottom of our underneath move 10 steps, and it should connect up again just like Lego. And then when we press the spacebar, now the broom also changes color each time. And coding is basically all about causes and effects. When this happens, when I press this button, do this. Or when this happens, when Pac-Man touches a ghost, or Flappy Bird touches a pipe, make this happen. That's all that coding is. So now that I've broken down how to make new sprites, how to go between the tabs so that we can be looking at the costumes tab where we can do things like paint on our sprites, but we also know how to go back to our coding tab so we can put more code into our sprites. Hopefully you should be better equipped to look at some of the other videos on this channel. If there's anything else that I've missed, anything else that you think would be a good addition, let me know in the comments and I will add on a second video, again just to prepare new people before they get into the rest of the content on this channel. And the other thing that I highly recommend is in the top left corner, there is a button that says Tutorials. If you click on that, it will give you a bunch of different tutorials. The Getting Started tutorial is a really good one that sort of goes over some of the stuff I've already mentioned. And I highly recommend all of the Scratch tutorials. They will all teach you something different. And so, yeah, work through those. Highly recommend them. So hopefully this has been informative. Hope you've had fun. We'll see you maybe in the live streams. Otherwise, enjoy all of the other coding lessons on how to make certain games. Have fun, be safe, always be cool, and we'll see you next time.